at Tequilas. It's 10 o'clock. It's Tuesday. I'm Scott Stimson with International Computer Solutions, and we are the San Carlos Computer Club. I just said when we meet, hey, Mike just snuck in the door at the last minute. How you doing, Mike? No one would guess you were so stealthy. And Jim's back in person, and we have a new member here, Steve, who's joining us for the first time. And we got Cheryl online now, Linda's online, Chester's online. This is a great group. How many people we got here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Paul, you snuck in too. Hi, Paul.
I noticed that. I already ordered breakfast and everything.
I obviously was more concerned about my equipment than anything else. Well, in typical fashion, I distributed a list of potential topics for today. But as always, I am much more interested in hearing about what you guys are trying to do with computers, what kind of technical problems you might be having, or if we can solve a problem for somebody. So why don't we start with some of that stuff? Do we have any stories we need to share with each other, any experiences we can learn from, anything that we can help anybody with that's fighting with a problem right now?
Mike's got his hand up.
Mike's got his hand up. What do you got, Mike?
It's an interesting thing is, San Carlos water, I said it before. I don't know if you know Alan Sojan. He's been here for a long time. He's maybe one of the greatest smart people. But anyway, he was talking about the downloads he's getting on Main Street, one of the condos on Tequilas.
Okay.
He measured a download of 457 and an upload of 159 the other day.
That's amazing.
It's incredible.
That's a great speed.
That
Yeah.
guy doesn't get that. But,
What's he getting it off of? What's he using for service?
Something.
Say again?
Tell something. It's TEL. It's a division of the telephone.
Well, it would be Telmex then. Yeah, it'd have to be Telmex. If it's Telcel, that would be the cell phone company.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't believe that any of the cell phone companies right now are offering those kinds of speeds.
Well, I'm not getting that with finance.
Yeah, what's typical with the Telmans is 30 to 50.
50 is pretty smooth for me, 49, 50.
Yeah.
You're on fiber?
Yeah, they've got fiber all the way up throughout the park now.
Sure.
Loma Del Mar. We still don't have it on my street.
200
Is it really?
and 100 up.
Well, I don't pay for, that's the basic.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
The basic is 50.
They told me I can get up to 1,000.
Yeah.
Hey,
You want to hook up and point it at my house? Because I can't get fiber at all still.
Run the cable.
That's right. I'll just throw some fiber all the way over to Jim's place.
We're on Beltronas now too, in a rental.
Oh, okay. You're not in the same place anymore.
No, we sold that.
Okay.
We end up with the most times now. But that's through Mega Cable.
Through Mega Cable.
It dies out a lot, but not a lot, but a lot. Irritatingly so.
Yeah. Your own internet issues. Where are you located in town?
Chester's house, Mega,
Oh,
when it cuts out, then it's, we get a lot of slowdown and interruptions
on Mega Cable.
on Mega Cable.
Yeah.
And we're the next tier, second tier on there.
I think both companies, Telcel and Mega Cable, are owned by Telus.
Probably in some way.
One other thing I thought this week was, I switched to an Apple phone.
You got a new iPhone?
iPhone.
A new iPhone? What model do you have?
I've got a cheapie, I got 11.
The 11? That's what I've got. That's what I switched to.
I hated cell phone.
Right.
I'm kind of falling in love.
Yeah, you're enjoying how easy it works.
It's pretty easy. I got about 6 left, and I actually, sometimes I take it with me.
Oh, man.
Your generation's showing there, Mike.
But anyway,
I can't go to the can without mine. Right.
Anyway,
Hold on a second, Paul. Check, Paul.
one of the things that I noticed on my computer is that many Apple drivers, I get that 3 or 4 times a week. Does anybody else?
That doesn't sound right at all.
Oh,
Yeah, that sounds completely wrong.
oh.
Now, it's just on the phone screen as a
Well,
notification.
no, it's on my computer. Well,
Oh, you're connecting it to your computer?
well, they live right next to each other, so I don't.
But are you connecting a cable?
Yeah. It's not powered cable.
Okay, all right. So there would be some Windows drivers that need to be installed for your iPhone.
Okay.
So,
It happens at a frequent manner.
well, maybe you haven't gotten them installed.
Oh, I think I have.
Yeah.
But he's just using his computer to charge.
If you're using it just to charge with, what you're doing is you're connecting with a data cable, and so it's trying to create a connection between the two devices. So you can do things like synchronize your photos over to the computer, synchronize your contacts from your computer's contact list,
You can do that wirelessly.
move music over to it, and you can do that wirelessly with the latest versions of the operating system.
Charging your phone through your computer. I guess it's like-
Well, that's kind of where I keep them both. There's a point there, so I just-
Convenience.
Sit next to each other.
But when I first bought it,
So
But
guys put in for the wall.
Uh-huh.
those drivers should be included with the latest version of iTunes. And I have not messed around with the latest version of iTunes connecting a cable, but that stuff is all in flux right now because Macintosh has changed the paradigm and broken those into separate applications. So on the Macintosh, you have a music app, you have a podcast app, and then your file sharing between the devices can be done wirelessly, but it's being done through the File Explorer. And so you go and you do things like back up your device or upgrade the firmware by exploring for it in Finder, in Macintosh Finder. And this is new, and they are just recently starting to move that paradigm over to the Windows platform. And so if you're using the latest iTunes, maybe there's something that's happening right this moment that's different.
16.3.
16.3 did just come out. I haven't moved to it yet.
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Have seen no problems yet?
I just did it yesterday. So as of right now, no more copy.
Steve, I don't know if you do any upgrading of your equipment, but we typically wait a couple of point releases before doing updates. We don't like being guinea pigs, and then we like to share other people's stories, but we don't like it when they're ours.
I don't like that.
I figured a
Is anybody trying to figure out how to
16.3
turn it off on Windows 10?
as opposed to 16.3.
Auto updates?
You know, you can't. You can only postpone them. Yeah, you can only postpone them. Paul, let's go back to you. You brought
I was
something.
going to just say that when I first got a cell phone, I considered it a form of insurance. When I'd go driving, the only thing that I needed for is if my car broke down.
Right? Yeah.
I could call home.
Now you couldn't live
That's
without
right.
it.
Yeah, no, it's part of, I was late this morning because I got hooked into TikTok.
Down the black hole.
Watching the videos, huh?
On the rabbit.
Sitting on the can.
You can't watch the Chinese girl walking across the street and
It's a little doggy.
oh, the doggy ones?
There's that girl in Japan or China that's got a dog that's all dressed up and it only walks on its hind legs. When she goes shopping and stuff, it's all dressed up.
Jim Cunningham has slipped into our meeting. Good morning there. Have you brought any topics for today's meeting? And you're muted, so we can't really hear you.
Okay, I just unmuted. No, I don't have any yet, but I have a couple a week that I'm working on right now. And if I don't get them solved, then we'll talk about it.
Okay. Well, that's a good plug for next week's meeting. Now we're all anticipating Jim's tech problems.
It could be more fun than discussing my tech problems.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank everybody, the publicity for Carolyn's reading. Everything went well, and I think there's a 20,000 pesos. I don't know, do you know exactly how much money they brought in a lot of money?
No, I don't.
For castaways.
Wow.
It was good. They had a matching funds deal with somebody. There was great prizes for a draw, and I think Carolyn sold 46 books.
Well, congratulations. That's awesome. And I feel like I was a part of that because I mentioned it for 4 weeks in a row.
Well, you were.
There's over 50.
That's pretty
Great. Well, and what you're making me realize is I forgot to mention, because I told Inez I would mention and continue to mention, that the run is coming up. The El Mor No Duele run is coming up on February 12th. So that's starting at 9 a.m. I still don't know where it's happening, but I assume it's happening from the plaza. And this is to raise money and awareness for Safe and Secure, that group that helps women and well, femicide and battered women and all that. I'm sorry, I'm not an expert in that. I'm an expert, and that's why I stumble when I try and talk about this other stuff. Let's go back to computer topics. I wanted to share with you guys that I have been playing around with Chat GPT. And if you have
good.
not,
You the real person? Or are we?
today I am,
There you go.
but who knows? But I have gotten into it. It looks very easy to be part of. When I went to ask for access, they were going through a thing and said, we can't give you access right now. And within 2 days, they'd sent me an email saying you can have access now. And it's a trial. You get, they give you a credit. The idea is that these searches are a pay per search, and there's a price per search. So you're paying like fractions of a penny at times. Well, you're not yet. They give you like an $18 credit, and so you're able to whittle away at that. And so you can pay online. You can give them a credit card. They've got a whole payment method, and they've also got a program where you can pay to have it integrated use their API and use it to advance an application that you're putting forward. So just like you can plug into some of these cloud things that are on the internet to make part of an application you're building, you can plug into Chat GPT, and you can make it you can use that for whatever aspect you thought it could add sparkles to your application. But anyone can have access to it. You can go and sign up for it. It's not just for research, though it'll ask you questions. Why are you doing this? And you can get this credit of $18 and be able to just whittle it away on searches. And I started just playing with it. I started giving it, also the other thing is that it has information accumulated up to 2021. So it's very funny to see how it behaves when you ask it about events that are current, that it has no idea about, versus things that were current in 2021. But it's ready to answer confidently, whether wrong or not, any question you might throw at it.
Give me an example. What
I have a
question?
friend like that.
Well, we started asking it questions about Semana Santa, the numbers for Semana Santa. And it gave us 8,000 people, 9,000 people, 10,000 people. We were given it different years, and it was just spitting back to us like, how many people came through San Carlos at Semana Santa in 2019? And at some point, I think it's 2020, it goes, well, Semana Santa was canceled all throughout Mexico, so we don't have any real accurate information for that. And we asked it to use the information it had. And so we can't make a predictive model. And it used its own language, but that's essentially what it said. What kind of people are going to turn up for Semana Santa this year? because of the last 2 years of it being canceled. We don't know what those numbers are going to look like.
So do you see why schools are banning students from using them?
Well, I do. I've been doing some development that's got me writing some JavaScript. And I started asking it questions because I was getting stuck on something. And so I approached it, not realizing at the time as a developer that might be out there online that could answer my questions for me. And I just started asking it questions like how should I be building an array of objects using AppScript and a Google Sheet? And it would give me back an answer of arrays in JavaScript look like this. Here's an example. And so then I went as far as to give it a copy of my code. And I said, I'm trying to write an array for this. And it immediately spit back code that would build what I had into an array. And it wasn't perfect. I couldn't just copy and paste it into the development environment I was working in. But I did. I copied and pasted it into that environment, and then you room in and put the right variable name in, and there it was working.
So that's not plagiarism?
Well, no, because it's all based on.
It is.
Well, hold on. No, hold on a second. There are things like searches that are really well common, founded in computer science. They're all out there. This is the difference between me going and reading through the web pages to find the example that I build mine on, or the example just appearing in front of me. That's the difference. So in this instance, it's not plagiarism, because this is how you write code. Is you go out and you use your references, you see how you write an array, and you figure out the syntax from the references. So this is more like asking somebody that knows, how do you do it? And it was very impressive. And I actually started having conversations with it like it was me and another developer trying to solve a problem. And I was spitting to it the questions on my mind. It was giving me back answers to those questions. It was amazing. It was so impressive. Some of them were very wrong, but it told me with great confidence it was right.
Of course, it's a computer.
The data's
So Judy, to what the news is about, and I've got some of these articles in the document that I sent around for possible topics. I could ask it. I did ask it. I said, write me a story that includes a little girl. I'm not remembering what I wrote, so I'm just making it up right now. But I made it up exactly the same way because I wanted to see these capabilities. And so I had a little girl on the internet, zombies, and it came out. I told it specifically write a 4-page essay that is a story about a little girl with zombies on the internet. And it did that. It just, and I could have taken it a step farther and qualified it with an Edgar Allan Poe style. And it definitely would have done that. And so it is something that I recommend everybody play with, because it is going to be all over our world. And one of the reasons is that Microsoft just dumped $10 billion into it. Well, more like what Google Photo has done with photos, where it's creating collages and saying, hey, do you like this? Do you want to keep it? The Google Photos is making little movies, little vignettes of photos you've taken recently, and it's sending you an announcement to your device saying, hey, we created this. Take a look. Do you like it? If you like it, save it, which is really funny because when you save it, it takes up more storage space on Google. And if you're really enjoying that experience, very quickly, you're going to want to buy some Google storage space. So they're using an AI to create products for free that are in turn going to have you buying subscription storage space from them. but it's very impressive. Yeah.
U.S. representative from Massachusetts gave a 2-paragraph speech before the House about artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
At the end, he said, by the way, this was written by a robot.
That's right. Yeah.
And we got to make some laws. And that was it. Yeah, we got to make some laws.
I wonder if AI wrote George Santos.
George Santos should have been using the AI. He might not have gotten caught. What lies can I tell in Congress without getting caught? Right?
Well,
It doesn't matter. He just outright lies all the time. It doesn't matter.
So it is not hard to get access. Just Google Chat GPT. It'll take you to the site. Very easy to sign up. And immediately you can start asking it questions. And you can ask it questions the way you've asked Google. The difference is it's giving you direct answers and verbose, very deep dive answers. The kind of insight that you expect to glean yourself from the Google results and the research that you would go do to read those pages. It's just pulling that out and putting it right in front of you. You can also, my favorite question of all is, where did you get this documentation? And it would give me a link and show me where it had read that information. Now, unfortunately, because it's limited to 2021 and before, then in my experience, because of what I'm working on has changed so quickly in less than 2 years. That documentation is, but I live in that world. I mean, anything that would be a historical reference or some community reference, I guarantee would still be there from 2021. Because I'm working in app scripts and they're putting out new versions and new documentation all the time. But yeah, very cool stuff. And Microsoft apparently has been invested in this open AI. In fact, if you read this article that I sent out the links, they've had billions of dollars invested in this to begin with, kind of as a side thing, kind of as a startup kind of Kickstarter kind of mentality. And because of their success with Chat GPT, they have not only committed $10 billion to that organization, but they've already announced that all their Office products and their cloud services will be complemented with AI. And so they will be using this kind of technology across the suite of things that Microsoft does. This in itself, I've heard commentators say, may create a tech wave of new equipment as they try and dial in on that are just sort of working with what we've got now, but are just tailored for us with the new technologies that could come out. So we were really, one of the reasons I mentioned this is because we're really hard pressed to understand why Windows 11. There's artificial hardware constraints on Windows 11. It's simply kind of a nudge to hardware partners that we're not going to make Windows 11 run on these old computers, so expect people to go out and buy new computers. But 12 with artificial intelligence may really justify buying new equipment because these are capabilities that weren't even imagined earlier on. You can bet with these announcements, Chat GTP started in November. All right, we haven't been a year. And they've got millions, hundreds of millions of users that have signed up and started using this service. They've already acted as a monetary service out there. There are businesses that are buying subscriptions to this. Google is supposedly scrambling around trying to figure out what they're going to do, because this is such, you can see from this what a better solution this will end up being than the Google search window and that paradigm of sending you the resources. They're sending you the answers. I told a friend of mine, and maybe only Star Trek fans would get this, but it turned me into Geordie LaForge. I was literally telling the computer what I wanted to do, and it was doing it for me. It was crazy.
Well, that's a good business model, to create a need and then fill it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's what you're going to see is helpers with pictures, helpers with writing. You're going to have a button in a Word program where you'll write like a couple of topics about what you're trying to do, or you'll write, these are my 3 main topics, and it'll just blow out a 5-paragraph essay that you'll go and modify and clean up.
I have a question for you.
I want to go, I haven't done this yet. This is going to be one of my next things is I've got a ridiculous like 5-page resume. I want to dump it all into Chat GPT and say, write me a 1-page resume and see what it comes out with.
Every other word.
Yeah, right. It takes out all my double spacing.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, Chester, go ahead.
Yeah, based on your experience, and I'm intrigued with it, does it respond to how-to questions? Your mother and I work in Photoshop a lot, and there may be something you want to do and you'd want to have to research it. So you ask, how do I do this? Or how do I repair my car? Or how do I do, how-to questions?
Yes, that format, it lends itself to that format. Now you have to be conscientious of how confident it is correct, because it will give you wrong answers. So when you're asking those questions, what you're not getting is, like in Google, you write, how do I flush my radiator? And it sends you back pages of results that are supposedly documentation of how to answer that question.
Yeah,
Whereas
in a lot of cases, you'll get a YouTube showing you how to do something, and I find that intriguing.
Yeah, that's right. And actually YouTube might actually end up being the best answer to those how-to questions because it's visual, right? There's somebody that's actually doing the job. What Chat GPT will do is it will tell you how to flush the radiator. It won't tell you where it got the information unless you ask. There won't be references like footnotes that you could go to get more information. It's more like asking your dad, how do I flush the radiator? And it will have.
Does it give you a video?
No. I mean, but you could ask it for a link to a video. Okay. You could say, can you give me a video that shows me how to flush my radiator? And it would send back a link to that video. For me, it just blew my mind because I felt like I was talking to another developer on the other end. Like I had gone into a discussion group saying, hey guys, I got this problem I'm trying to solve. And one guy goes, oh, I know how to do that. And he shoots me back a message going, you should try this. And I'm like, well, I tried that and I got this error. I literally had this conversation with him. I tried this and I got this error. And it came back, well, you only get that error when this, and this is happening. And then I would go and I would check this, and this. And be like, well, I checked this, and this, and I'm still getting this error. And it would come back with, well, other reasons you could get this error if those are good. I mean, it was very much like I was talking to somebody that was deeply involved in what I was doing.
So is the interface
Absolutely. Yeah.
Voice centric or keyboard centric?
Keyboard centric. The interface is crude. You're typing into a box and hitting a send button, but it does have a microphone feature so that you can, and I tried that for a little bit, you can hit the microphone, it opens up a box that is a recorder. And so if your mic's unblocked, you start talking, it records it kind of speech to text, like maybe some of you guys have used that with the keyboards on your phone. It's a little clunky. It's not smooth, but you eliminate needing to type into it, but it's taking your voice, turning it into text, and then you hit a send button, and then that goes. So it's not a flush, really refined system of voice yet. Yeah, it's right. No, in fact, It's literally only there as an example of what you could do with your application if you paid us a subscription fee for access to our API. It's like showing you this is the base model, and the developer could look at that and go, well, heck, I could fix that. I could totally have that integrated right into this app I'm working on. I could see this kind of thinking being used for things like scheduling. I'm working for this organization that has 20, 30 techs out in the field every day, and they got to figure out who's going to do what job and the hours that they're going to work. And I could see having an application in the future that you would be able to feed it work schedules and previous work schedules, and then ask it to just create work schedules for the future. And it could predictively know who's going to be available at what time simply out of the data that you had accrued from before, showing, I mean, like John's always working on Saturdays. There's something about John, but he'd end up on the Saturday shift in the future. It's impressive. It's creepy. There's definitely copyright issues that need to be figured out, especially when you can access to GPT gives you access to what's the other one called? Delhi. I think it's called Delhi, the one that generates artwork. And so it's not on that same page, but right from that same page, you can go over to that page and use your same credentials you just signed up for. And you can ask it to generate artwork for you. You give it topics, you type into a box and you hit send, and it brings back artwork. And that can be, you can say in Van Gogh style, make me a picture of a black cat in a Van Gogh style, and it would go out there and it would find what it thought should be, and it does it very quickly. It just all of a sudden you have all these black cat pictures popping up that never existed until you came here and made them. The style part is the real question. The ability. I know my daughter's a big Tumblr user, and she writes blogs all the time, reads blogs all the time, and writes a lot of fan fiction. And they're very frustrated, her community, because now you can go to this thing and say, write this in such and such style. And it can be ripped right from some of these unprotected fan fiction works that are out there. We've said often, or I've said often, that we're looking at a world where we're going to start regulating technology because we've gone past the Wild West phase, and we're starting to see the technology will be used for whatever anyone can imagine. So we got to stop worrying about the technology and go back to worrying about what people can imagine. We're going to have to shape where we want to use technology as we go into the future. And it's supposed to benefit all of us. And that's why it should be government regulated. We should have some control over it as a community, so that we're shaping how this technology is used in the future. When you set, I've said to you guys before, I feel like there should be a digital Bill of Rights, a personal digital Bill of Rights that has certain guarantees that we all expect. One of those being my favorite is I expect never to be tracked unless I give it approval. That should be the default for any organization, anything that you approach, even if it means you've handicapped yourself from using the service. You should be led into giving away your information. You should not be giving your information away immediately. And what that does, but Ray, what that does is that when you find an organization like a Google or an Apple that has been collecting your information, then you have teeth to go after them. And right now we don't have any teeth to go after these kinds of behaviors. And we really are going to have to shape behaviors, because technology will do whatever people can imagine to use it for.
Look at the way the Industrial Revolution, the arc of that. Okay, and the Victorian times were a huge 30-year depression. You know, with
Say more, Jim.
well, with the prison, what are they, debtors' prisons and things like this. You know, there was this huge disruption, and so it's the same thing with this. As you know, we're on the upslope of this right now, but when it begins to peak, I mean, the Industrial Revolution, they said there's going to be less work, so everybody would have more free time. But what happened is half the people didn't have anything to do, and other people were working 3 times as hard. And then all these poor people were a problem. It's going to happen here too.
Yeah. Well, I think in this case, I really try to keep it simple in my thinking, and I think about stuff like soap or cooking oil, and it's like you expect to be able to fry chicken without getting sick. And the reason you expect that is because you set that as the standard in your community, and you set regulations to keep track of stuff like that. And when they don't, when somebody does get sick, then you're holding people responsible for not meeting up to their expectations. And I think that kind of mentality needs to be in the tech sector. And I didn't feel this way when I was younger. I felt like we were in the Wild West. We needed to inspire, we needed to explore, we needed to see how these things can be used. Now we've gotten to a point where we've got technology that is beyond what we can imagine it can be used for. And so we need to start setting how we expect our community to behave. Jester, you got your hand up. What would you like to say?
Yeah, I had a question back on the AI answer.
Yeah.
In what format can you download it?
You don't. It's all a web interface.
You can't download it and use it?
No, you use it through a web page, kind of how you use Google to search for things. You use Chat GPT to answer questions.
Yeah, but with Google, you can also copy or download.
Well, you can copy and paste its results somewhere if you wanted to.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah, and it's got some, if I remember right, it's got some download button that would allow you to grab everything you've done in that session and bring it down, but it's just a text file. It's
in case of the art, that would be pretty important.
Oh, pardon me. But you do watch your searches whittle away at that credit they've given you to kind of get you in to try it out.
And suddenly you owe $500.
Well, you don't misunderstand me. You're not signed up with any kind of credit card or payment method. You have easy access. You could have anonymous access. If I used up my credit, I sure would not feel, I wouldn't hesitate to set up some bogus email account and grab another free access. Because I'm not planning on designing it for, well, not at the moment. You did hear me romanticize possibly using that kind of technology for something, but yeah, it's like it gives me the warm, fuzzy feelings. I felt a personal connection with the other side, especially when it solved my problem. I'm like, you're so awesome.
Unless I'm down, he's the only man in the house.
So a couple other things besides the investment in this stuff. New York City has banned students and teachers from using Chat GPT. And if you go and explore this yourself, you will find out why. And a very interesting one, a guy, and I don't have it in, I wrote this 2 weeks ago, but I think it was MIT. Wrote a program to detect whether homework has been written by an artificial intelligence. And so now teachers are being, and I went and I checked that out. I didn't do this recently. I'm sorry, it's not just on the tip of my tongue, but it's all part of the same theme this morning. And I went to his program. I first went to ChatGPT. That's the reason I wrote the story. I'm remembering now. This is the whole turn of events. I'm like, I want to see if this thing can tell if ChatGPT wrote my story. So I went to ChatGPT and asked it to write like a 5-paragraph essay on a story of zombies and internet and some little girl. And it gave me the story. I'm like, that sounds great. I literally just copied it and pasted it into this other tool. And it asked a series of questions and gave me a % chance that it was written by an artificial intelligence in the end.
Couldn't you just go to this GPTI and post that written document, says, did you write this document?
That's an interesting question. Ask it. Well, I'm sure it would say, yeah, I just wrote that for you. I'm sure that would be the answer.
Yes.
That'll be the Sid add-on for it. Will be, are you screwing with me? I just wrote this for you. Look, knucklehead, look above. It's right there. It's got a little emoji of a finger pointing up. It's right there.
That's that finger though.
No,
This long.
Yeah.
There's all the education, like mine, and all submitted documents have to go through a plagiarism screening program. Make sure that they're not just cutting and pasting.
And they absolutely are. My kids would do it in a heartbeat. I'm sure they would.
And he used paraphrase.
Yeah.
He'd write this big long thing and paraphrase and skim down to, so many words, and they'd go through and.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I've taught my kids to use all the resources in front of them. Google was one of the first tools that they learned how to use. I have never played to know everything, but I do know where to go find it. And that's the skill you need in this world. And so I wouldn't be surprised at all if I got an essay back on, they're using ChatGPT. And it's like, well, have you come up with a better way for them to do it? Because they're going to use whatever's in front of them.
It isn't exactly plagiarism. You actually created it using a tool.
I think there's a nuanced discussion to have about that, because you're not wrong.
You created it, but it just happened to use a tool to create it.
I like the Geordie LaForge analogy, because you're working on bigger things.
Yep.
I want the little things to happen automatically because I have a bigger scope that I'm working on.
Well, it's like all these books from sports people. It's a ghostwriter. The ChatGPT is your ghostwriter.
Yeah, there's probably something
the question
to say there.
Is it okay for you to write your paper to get your doctorate with a ghostwriter?
Well, I read an article last week. Somebody punched in the business management exam, and the AI passed it, with not knowing anything that I ever had anything to do with it. Passed it with 65%.
Yeah,
could pass the MBA.
I read the same article. I mean, not the same article, but the same style article about the bar that it passed the legal bar.
That's where we were talking a couple of meetings ago. Is it you have your phone and it just listens to the arguments and it tells you what to say.
What to say back to the judge? Yeah.
This is your lawyer right here.
Right.
We come to the conclusion it'd be pretty funny if you had two of them.
Right. You got
just put them together and let them go to work. And then
two phones are fighting with each other.
And then you have to have the AI judge. It decides.
And that would decide whether you got divorced or not.
Yeah, exactly. Well, who got the dog?
Who got what? It's like
it's the dog.
Well, and then when you give up the middleman of the humans involved, it's you show up, cha-ching, it's done, and you're just going through the list going, well, why does she get the house? What's up? Wait, did I argue against it? And you're like, and ChatGPT, yes, you said this, and this, but it really doesn't hold up.
At the very bottom.
She got the house, but I got the pool.
Yeah.
At the bottom is appeal.
Yeah, there's an appeal button. That's right.
But with a sidebar of how much it's going to cost you to appeal.
That's right.
Down
Use your
penny.
PayPal account here
to
to start the appeal.
Right away, I see all these men are arguing from a men's viewpoint, which means financial.
Yeah.
There are other aspects.
No, I talked about the dog.
Yeah, okay.
I don't have a dog. I give a shit about
The dog, just for that.
yeah,
Point of
dog,
argument.
just to see if I win it.
I just saw a movie where he lost the house, but he got the dog, damn it. And he's like, I don't care about the dog, but she does.
And
You're right.
you see court cases now where they're fighting for custody of the dog.
Right.
She gets so much time and he gets so much time. I don't think so.
Still got to be easier than kids.
Cheaper.
Yeah, you don't have to pay for the university.
And dogs always happy to see you.
Most times.
I get the dog in the morning and I have to clean up after it.
Now, I hit all my Chat GPT topics, and somebody has put a Canadian reference.
I did.
I thought it might be you.
It's an article about how your laptop and cell phone batteries have been made wrong all along. They're using the wrong sealing tape or something on the battery, and it's using up power.
It's because of the way that electrons flow around the battery and the cable, and the tape that has been used in a number of batteries to put them together so you have a negative and a positive, and these batteries are built like a layer cakes, and so there's a cellophane tape that's used in that production. And apparently these researchers in Canada have discovered the majority of the batteries that are in use right now have been using a tape that causes a discharge of the batteries. And so they are sitting there and discharging quicker than anyone was anticipating, simply because of the materials they use to build the batteries.
Goddamn cheap Canadians.
On the topic of batteries, do you have a source for like Leo laptop batteries?
Well, only that we go online and look for whether they're available here or in the States and try and get a hold of them. You're talking about an old Sony battery?
Yeah, I got a Leo laptop that about 5 years old.
Yeah, if you shoot me the model number, I'll do some research, see if we can't find it on Amazon or Mercado's Libre. Yeah, that's what we typically do. The things like that, it's beautiful having Amazon, Libre. You can track that stuff down. Is it an internal battery, like for an Ultrabook? Yeah, you have to disassemble it to get into it. Well, other than and Bill's article on these batteries is a really interesting topic. That
do they use the same kind of tape on all batteries, or is it just some models?
Apparently, it's a standard production, like across the industry. This type of cellophane tape has been used for a long time.
But what kind of batteries?
All kinds of batteries. Yeah, laptop batteries, cell phone batteries, tablet.
Exactly.
That's what I was thinking. I wonder if that's various things.
Well, that would be a real Canadian thing to do, to passively aggressive put this statement out. Like, of course you had the best of intentions. You must not be. Please, Ray, go ahead. I have exhausted my topics for today. We are on a countdown virtual meeting. We've got less than 6 minutes left, and I'm going to have to start another meeting real quick.
Is the Carlos responsible for wireless? Anybody know of a TV repair guy? I have a Samsung with bright spots. And I looked it up on YouTube on how to repair that, and there's too many screws.
There's too many screws. Are you replacing, is it replacing the LEDs?
From what they say, it's something to do with movement, and something is askew in these spots on the screen.
Well, I might be able to do it, but I would need to look at what you're looking at. I'm definitely not the TV repair guy, but if it,
Is there one?
not that I'm aware of. In fact, we've just had to bring there's a guy that's working on TVs. Yeah, who do you recommend, Jim? Because we were looking.
My neighbor's brother-in-law.
Oh, there you go.
He did Marvin's TV, and he also did my stereo and other things. He's got a repair shop down by the hospital there. Hard to explain.
Would you have contact info for him?
I think so.
Let's share that. We recently need to get a microwave fixed, and
No one does electronics anymore.
we couldn't find anybody in Wymus to fix it.
Lewis, the technician.
Lewis, the technician.
Yeah, he's on Viva.
I guess I don't know.
Under Lewis, the technician.
Lewis, the
He's good
technician?
with microwaves and all that stuff.
Well, we've just brought it to Hermosillo because it was the only repair shop we could find.
Or is it Juan? No, it's Juan. Enrique's his brother. Let me find Juan.
This is another reason we do these meetings, is we all pool resources. Jim, send me that contact info and I'll just put it right on our website. I'll put it in the directory.
All I got is his message.
But he's got a proper shop, right?
Yeah, he's got a shop down there. Let's see. I'll have to get it. My neighbor's in Hermosillo right now. He'll be back tonight
Okay.
or this afternoon.
Well, send it to me. I'll make sure Ray gets it. I'll put it on the website so that we all have access to it. Because that's exactly what we needed. With an electric repair guy. And it's very hard to find these days. Yeah, they open up and fix motherboards
I
and,
just actually found an electric golf cart.
oh, that's cool.
So if,
That's my dream electric car for the future. I want a golf cart.
In the park.
how old are you? No, it's not Terry Robb, it's a different
No, but this is a Mexican fellow that he's in charge of maintaining the golf carts at the
one.
at the
Yep.
club.
His name is Daniel.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
good.
Hey, Chester, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I have my hand up, but we only have 2 minutes, so maybe I'll ask my question on the other side.
Okay, all right, yeah, we're running out of time, huh? We've whittled it down. I'm gonna go ahead and start up the next meeting so we're ready to go.
Okay.
Because he's not there. He went to get some medicine. I remember seeing a doctor.
We always run late, so we got 2 different meetings because we run out of time.
Get there.
Everybody online paying attention. I'm setting up the second meeting now.
I'm logging in.
This is about the time my boss walks up and go, "What are you doing?"
I gotta get into the mess in the meeting. All right, I'm shutting down the oldest. Jim, I'm going over to the other meeting. You gotta move. Oh, get out of the way.
Out of the way or get run over.
Yeah. You don't have to go home, but you can. We've got Cheryl, Chester. I got to set up the layout over here again.
Yeah, I told that to a drunk friend one time. You don't want a drunk friend to sleep over because the first thing they do when they wake up is throw up.
I'll call you a cab. There we go. Okay, all that's whatever is normal. And we're here. Looks like everybody made it to the meeting. We still got 4 people online. Chester had a question for us. What is it, Chester? Jim's out of here. Audio.
It's not so much a question as a computer comment. And you know, we've discussed ad nauseum my issues with OneDrive. Well, I switched my computer from Windows 10 to Windows 11. And in the process, it dropped it back and picked up documents that were a couple of weeks old. And fortunately, I had, at 12/31, at the end of the year, I had copied everything onto an external hard drive. So I went onto that external hard drive and updated my documents. But in the switching between Windows 10 and Windows 11, I lost information. That's all I wanted to comment on.
Okay. But fortunately, you're somebody that backs things up, which is something we always talk about in club, is doing all that stuff with backup. So even though you've lost it, you actually had a backup of it. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Are you on Windows 11? Are you on Windows 11 then? No.
But they tried, and I said no.
Steve, what we normally do as we're reaching the end of our meeting is we got in the habit of making recommendations for each other. Things like books or TV shows, movies or websites or applications that we're currently using. Just things that we feel like other people ought to know about. We found it very helpful. We keep lists of that on the website. So if you're looking for something interesting to watch, or if you're trying to remember what that app was we were talking about, we keep them on the website. Does anybody have a recommendation? I see Judy's got her hand up, Ray's got her hand up. We'll go in that order. Jim's after Ray. Go ahead.
Fauda, F-A-U-D-A, on season 4.
Fauda. I have never started that. Sid, have you started that?
What?
Fauda?
It's an Israeli based.
Isn't it?
Kind of.
Yeah.
He's not really.
Cannot hear what Ray is saying. Could you please repeat?
Hard to hear. Judy must sound somewhat like Ray.
And it was Fauda, F-A-U-D-A, Fauda, season 4.
Season 4 has started. And you say he's not a cop?
No,
No?
he's more like a Mossad guy, which
Okay.
is different than a cop.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like the cops we have here.
It's more like a CIA.
Yeah,
It does some investigation.
Yeah.
But not like a police officer.
Like internal CIA. Cool.
Secret police.
yeah.
It's the Stasi.
Have you just recently gotten into it, or you've been watching it all
I
along?
watched it till the new season just came out. So I started at season 1, several, maybe last year sometime.
All right, do you have any more, or we go on to Ray?
Go on to Ray.
All right, Ray, what you got?
Okay.
Okay.
Recommend YouTube, the absolute history series. Terrific. Everything from pavement to Tudors to the Victorian era, great riff. Each is a television segment long. In other words, there's 35, 45 minutes. Yeah. Also, I want to know if, well, I inherited a whole mess of Makita hand tools, cordless.
Okay.
Wonderful. Can't get batteries for them anymore. I'm wondering,
What do you do?
perhaps because of how there's a possibility of getting the batteries. Makita makes new tools that don't utilize this type of battery, but you can't put the new batteries in the old tools.
Okay.
Planned obsolescence.
Yes.
Well, it's going to be a generation. We're going to require searching for Makita batteries from that generation. seeing if they're available.
I understand that batteries.
I didn't even realize we have a battery store in Wymus.
Are you talking RCA?
Well, it might be.
Or is it LTE?
Well, no, but RCA has like
Sure. Yeah.
battery phones and that kind of, your house phones, those kind of batteries. Yeah, I know, yeah.
There used to be a store that sold everything from car batteries to flashlight batteries.
Yeah, if there is, I haven't used that store. I do know that there is I said that too quickly. There's I think it's LTE or LTH. LTH is the battery manufacturer, and they have a store, but motorcycle batteries, RV batteries, those kind of style batteries. It is a battery specialized in all that stuff. Maybe, because I'm not a mechanic. I don't pay too much attention to these names. GTH?
Because these batteries are no longer legal in the United States, is there a possibility that they would be sold down here?
Well, they're not illegal. They're just not produced by the manufacturer because they changed their design. So you're looking for...
Not a lithium
but
ion.
It's more like...
It used to be NiCad batteries, is what Makita was using for a long time. Try pawn shops.
Ooh.
You can find the old tool may be worthless, but there's the batteries. Sometimes you find the battery with a charger or something like that.
Well, battery operated tools from Makita that I could even use.
No.
How about the Tequilas and employment?
The big frustration with the batteries is you're probably going to find batteries that have crappy life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One battery I have left is maybe $25.
Yeah. And so what you're really looking for is you're looking for a battery rebuild project where like there is a battery shop that's building batteries. You're looking for a third party that's just, the beauty is that Makita is known, and there's so many of those tools that it's hard to imagine unless they were stopped from doing it, that there isn't some third party out there making batteries for those tools, because the tool wouldn't still be used. And I'm trying to do it real quick right now.
Linda's hands up.
Linda, you got to wait for Jim, and then you're next.
Okay, well, I can start talking about it. Just I've been watching a series of 5 or 6 into it. It's Attorney Woo, and it's a Korean thing, and you can get it with dubbed with English subtitles, because sometimes they speak very quickly, and even the dub. It's quite interesting. It's not Ally McBeal, but it's from Korea. It's really interesting.
WOO?
Yeah, WOO, Attorney Woo. And I think she might have like an amazing or exotic or something name in the beginning of it. She's an autistic woman, but a high achieving autistic woman who is an attorney in Sonora.
And where do you watch that?
Netflix. I access Netflix a couple of different ways, and one way wouldn't allow me to change the language, but I did find it eventually including just subtitles. Get used to their mouths moving differently. Good acting.
Extraordinary Attorney Woo.
There you go.
That's it. And actually heard really good things about this. Never watched it.
Your daughters would like it.
You think?
Yeah. I think
They like 30-second TikTok videos. I've added it to the list.
You guys hours in a day.
Right?
All the work you do, plus watching all these programs.
So an application or a piece of hardware I've used, I started using it in June of this last summer, but with Starlight. And I use it we actually brought it down here as backup. So if you have any questions about Starlink, I'm real impressed with it. Worked well for us on the boat and down here.
Steve, you had said earlier that you're on the RV plan,
Yep.
which allows you to move around with the Starlink without worrying about not having access to it.
It's the internet from a satellite, is that why they call it Starlink?
Correct. Yeah, would they use low orbit satellites that are moving? They're not geostationary, and so the antenna is a phased array that does some tracking. It's got 2-axis motors in it for horizontal and rotation, but most of the tracking is done electronically in a phased array, and so but it works real good. Our boat only goes up to about 8 knots. I think the RV, strictly if you go over 10 knots, it just, because it's not supposed to be in motion, but that may have changed when they added in motion antenna to their offering and stuff. But
somebody can't watch a movie at the back while you're driving.
yeah,
The driver can't watch a movie.
It's half the price if you buy it in Mexico.
Oh, the equipment or the service?
Both.
Both. I know that they cut the price in half everywhere in the United States and in Mexico. And the Mexican price was just slightly cheaper than the American price.
Yeah, it was like $60 a month for the service down here versus $135 a month up in the States.
Yeah, and now I think that, well, and actually, I guess you're talking about RV prices, and I'm thinking of the stationary prices. It seems like it was like $100 in the States,
yeah.
and then down here it was like $80, $90. And now it's like $5 down here, and it's like $50 in the States.
So I didn't realize they cut it in the States.
Yeah,
it hasn't gone down.
Yeah, the stationary, yeah, I would check on that because from what I understand, they cut the prices across the board, across all of it. Yeah, it'd be nice if the equipment was a little cheaper, but still, it's what it's giving you. If you're needing that, it's awesome.
And I follow on Facebook a group of Starlink on boats, and there's a place up in Canada, which is in a fjord that has 6,000-foot mountains on both sides of it. And there's a picture of the guy that he took and uploaded being anchored in this fjord from Louisa Inlet, which has no cell phone, no internet, and it's in a deep fjord. They were able to get a signal and get the information out.
If you got enough satellites going over that area, it's kind of like a mesh network because you're not connected all the time. You're connected to whatever satellite's available to you at that moment.
And it's in the transition period right now, but originally you had to have your boat and the ground station in view of the same satellite because they didn't have the ability to transmit data from satellite to satellite. But the second generation satellites, you put in laser communication between satellites. So now he can go up in Ukraine and transfer it down and come down in a US ground station to give them internet access to the world. And the largest customer base for Starlink is Ukraine.
Oh, right now that's the case?
That's the largest. He gave them a lot of equipment. Now he's asking for somebody to pay for it.
Yeah. Linda, you got your hand up. What would you like to contribute?
Well, I have 2 things to contribute on that satellite, the satellite conversation. Both Irving and Jerry Anderson have the satellite. And we finally got their TVs working when we found out that you can't have mega cable on with the satellite because mega cable wants to take over from the satellite since they're the local.
I remember this discussion. It was really what the device first. You had 2 different Wi-Fi.
Right.
What had to be set up as a mesh network. Yeah. That's probably what was interfering.
Yeah, but it should. There are ways around that. And you had another thing, right, Linda?
Well, I wanted to ask you: is there any way maybe you could put a microphone on the table where everybody's sitting, so we can hear? Because we can't hear when they ask the questions.
I haven't figured it out yet, but when I do, I will. I'll try. I've tried and it doesn't
That's
work.
all I have to say.
I got to come up with a better way to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you're able to see very well. I got 3 computers set up here to do this.
Okay, all I can see, 3C, the club,
Yeah,
with
here.
Scott Stimson, and your picture, and then it'll switch over to the table.
Yeah.
Now, right now, it's a big square of the table, but then it switches back to you.
Yep. So I've got these 3 laptops here working in conjunction to pull all this together so we could do the virtual meeting, person meeting, and we don't have any echo coming. Like everybody here is able to hear you. They're behind my shoulder, but that's not getting broadcasted out to you. So you don't hear yourself come across. And that's the reason I can't use another microphone at the moment. I need to come up with some analog.
Okay, and hi to Judy and hi to Ray.
There's Ray sitting right there. Yeah, they can hear you. Judy just walked out the door.
Oh, darn her.
Well, obviously,
anyway, hi to everybody.
Hi, Linda. Obviously, my recommendation
in a couple weeks.
is Chat GTP, and so I really recommend you guys go check out that website just to be abreast of what's changing. I think this year is going to be full of AI. I think we're gonna see less. We're gonna see de-emphasized all this VR stuff. It's still going to happen. It's still moving forward, but part of all those job cuts were all in VR and voice assistant. Actually, a lot of those job cuts are areas of technology that are in the home, that people aren't in the home. COVID's over as far as the world's concerned. And so they're voice assistants and VR gaming, that kind of stuff. They're not that anymore.
Voice assistants, web development. You have to have that to be, listed as part of the Google metrics. So they'll list you higher if you don't have voice assistance.
Oh, if you, yeah, well, that's actually accessibility that you're talking about is the ability. Yeah, and that's still big. But what we're talking about when I say voice assistance is the hardware and software that makes that stuff happen, possible. And those are the groups that got cut with these 10,000 here, 11,000 here. Those groups were groups of VR. Those were groups of voice assistant that were getting cut. Apple is they like to say we didn't cut anybody, but if people look back, they didn't hire anybody either. Amazon, I mean, I'm not defending any of this. I think anybody losing their job has got a situation they're dealing with. And Amazon cut like 11,000 people from their workforce. But the number that keeps getting lost is that they hired something like 800,000 people when COVID hit just to meet the demands of the people needed from services and shipping and all that. So 11,000 is kind of a drop in the bucket. I do appreciate systems that are balanced so people don't have to lose their jobs. And I feel for any tech that's out there that finds it difficult to get. Like nobody wants to lose their health insurance or wonder what's going to happen to it. Wonder how they're going to pay their rent or their daycare or whatever. But 1,000 hiring, 11,000 firing, that sounds kind of like a win. Yeah. Keep it all in perspective. And it's interesting that the places that are getting cut are stuff like that. And the places where they're spending money, they spent $10 billion on AI, and they also had a Sting concert for their upper echelon of executives just days before they cut 11,000 people from their ranks. So that's a really bad employees, hundreds of thousands of people, and it's not even like 1% of their workforce that they got. All in perspective in their jobs. People rely on that, they did, and that's no way to be. I think the kinds of things, and it's kind of cavalier to think that anybody losing their job would be an easy thing, even when you're comparing it to those kinds of numbers. else? If anybody else wants to contribute something, this is the moment. Paul, you got something?
Yeah, I was going to say that I'm thinking back to the movie I liked, which was Don't Look.
Oh, that's great.
Everybody saw that pretty much.
No.
It had a sad and then a happy ending.
Don't Look Up. The one about the meteor coming or the
Yeah,
asteroid coming.
The graduate students noticed a meteor coming right for the Earth, big enough to destroy life. Most of the movie is trying to convince people that it's a real threat.
Yeah. Well, and then in there, just the with how government deals with a situation like that and how we watch it play out in the real world. That was so well timed during COVID because we all just felt many of those sentiments that were going on from the officials, and then all the way to the tech guy who like everything on this Hail Mary of a tech solution. And
it's still going to work.
Right.
Oh, well, we're losing 17. Oh, well, it should. There's a 27%.
That's a great movie. Okay, well, hey, guys.
I'm going to be going on a cruise, 15 days, so I'll keep a log of all the movies I watch.
We will have.
You may have Starlink on your cruise ship.
Well, they have a big library on the Princess Cruises, and we're going 15 days to Hawaii. So.
Paul, I look forward to it. It will be your third list of movies for us. Yes. Well, that's great. Thank you guys for joining us. This is the San Carlos Computer Club. Once again, we meet every Tuesday at 10. I try and run it as a virtual meeting as well as an in-person meeting. The club has been around since the early 2000s. It was not started by me originally. It was started by Jack Burns and Jan Bommel, and they invited me to come be a guest speaker. And that was back when we used to meet in the yacht club, and they were just having help answer questions. And Jack unfortunately passed away, and Jan, his complications with his wife's health brought him back to Europe. And left me just, and so I've done it ever since. And so I really appreciate you guys coming along and being interested in doing all this with me. And it's fun to have it online. And Jan has joined us a couple of times. Like, this is still a thing. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank goodness for COVID, putting it online.
That's right. So we've done virtual meetings since COVID hit. And I hope to continue. We do in-person meetings. In the
virtual meeting thing is, I belong to a club that moved all their business meetings online and stuff. And as everybody's come back in, they found that it is like, I'm a member of that club, but I can't attend any of the meetings in person.
Right.
But they've done hybrid meetings now where they've got, just like you guys are doing, where you can have the people there that are out of town can still attend the meetings.
Yeah, absolutely.
And participate. So, and then the other good thing I think that came out of COVID was doctors doing video visits. And now that Medicare has been paying for it, they're allowed to do it after COVID too.
Yeah.
The teledoc program.
Yeah. That's been real good.
Yeah, but right now that is the medical licensing board, state to state. Some states you can get teledoc, some you can't.
Use your VPN.
Yeah.
Because my wife got caught up in that. And
okay.
She said, "Oh no, I'll be in Seattle when I
see you, Jim."
The meeting. Basically, she's going to sign into Seattle.
I got to sign off, or we're going to go into another hour of computer. This is Scott Stimson, International Computer Solutions. I can do remote work. If you're needing some expert help out there, get a hold of me, Scott at internationalcs.net. And if you like what we've done here, check out our website, scclub.org. We're also on Twitter. Every once in a while, somebody says something on Twitter. That's at SCC Club. Until next Tuesday, everybody, tech on. Let's turn this off.
Tech on and turn off.